Welcome to We Plus You, straight talk about conscious business collaborations. And I'm really excited today because today I have the beautiful, wonderful Marci Shimoff. And we're going to be discussing some beautiful things today. We're going to be focusing on a couple of her wonderful programs, and we're also going to be focusing on a wonderful book of hers, which I really like because it's about happiness, happy for no reason. And she's a beautiful, elegant writer. And I also love the fact that she's also about consciousness. So welcome, Marci.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you today, Carly.
So I would love for you to share with us a little bit about your background, and not only that, what was the inspiration behind the book Happy for No Reason?
So the inspiration behind the book Happy for No Reason was my unhappiness. I was not a happy camper. And, there's this saying that we teach what we most want to learn. And I grew up, I was born unhappy. I tell people that I think I came out of the womb with existential angst. And I had a great family and a great childhood. Everything on the outside was great, but I had this heaviness that I carried with me inside from as long as I can remember. It was as though I had kind of a dark cloud around me. And I remember really when I was 5 or 6 years old, and all my other friends were watching Romper Room, which kind of ages me because, Carly, you probably don't even know what Romper Room is. But anyway, they were playing and having fun, and I was like feeling burdened by the suffering in the world. And I really had unhappiness throughout my childhood and teenage years. But I was very lucky because I had a father who was the happiest person on the planet. He passed away at age 91, but every morning he woke up with just a big smile on his face, and his motto was that every day I'm breathing is a good day. And so it was kind of a contrast to me. And I remember when I was about 19, he and I were driving down the road one day together, and I looked at him and I said, "Dad, what's your best advice for life?" And he looked at me and he said, "Well, that's easy, honey. Just be happy." And I threw my arms up into the air in frustration. I said, Dad, that's easy for you to say. You were born that way. But I wasn't. What do I do? And he thought about it for a moment. Then he looked at me and said, "Honey, I don't know." And that's when I realized that some people are just born happy. And I wasn't one of those. And that if I wanted to be happy, I was going to have to find out what I needed to do in my life to find happiness, to create happiness. And so I devoted my life to finding out how I could be happier, how you could be happier, how anyone could be happier. And the news is good, and that is that there are specific ways that we can become happier, that science has actually cracked the happiness code. And I would say that I have gone from a almost failing in happiness. If you were to grade me, I was like a D+ in happiness. And I'd say that now I'm like an A to an A-. I haven't perfected it. It's still a journey. But it really, these simple practices, and I want to be able to share some of them with everybody today, they really work.
So when I hear people say that people that are pessimistic people, can you actually say that you have some tools in your tool belt that you're going to be willing to share with the audience that can actually say to people that, yes, we can take a pessimist and make them an optimist?
Absolutely. And what's so cool about this, Carly, is that it's actually in the brain. It's hardwired in the brain if you're a pessimist. So first thing you can do is stop beating yourself up for being a pessimist. We as human beings are natural pessimists. We inherited, the psychologists say that we have on average 60,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those are negative. They call it the negativity bias. And we inherited this bias from our cavemen ancestors who needed to remember the negative things in order to survive. But we don't need that anymore. It's no longer functional. But we still live this way, where we remember the negatives more than the positives. And let me give you an example. If you get 10 compliments in a day and 1 criticism, what do you remember at the end of the day?
Absolutely. We are beings that are very emotional creatures, and we automatically beat ourselves up the minute we hear something that's critical. It's
That's
like
right.
the whole thing about feedback.
That's what we grab onto. That's what we remember. That's what we go home and tell our families. Can you believe what so-and-so said to me today? And we don't notice the 20 things that were said that were positive. So what we need to do is actually retrain the brain. And it's very simple. And there's a lot of research that's being done that shows that you can create new neural pathways in the brain so that you can have more of a bias for the positivity. Once you start creating these new positive neural pathways, it becomes easier to start noticing and ingraining the positive. So it's kind of a self-perpetuating cycle. So there's 3 tips for you, and they're going to seem so ridiculously simple, but they work. I mean, they're scientifically proven and they work. So tip number 1 is you have to notice the positive. You actually have to be on the lookout for it. Most of us are not trained to be on the lookout for what's good. And they say that we get about 11 billion bits of information every second, and we perceive only a small fraction of it, and we perceive what we're looking for. So what I want you to do is I want you to be on a scavenger hunt for the good. And I have one woman I interviewed for Happy for No Reason. She said she pretends that she's the Academy Awards committee and that every day she's looking to give out Academy Awards. So if she's on a walk, she sees a cute little white dog and she gives that dog the cutest dog of the day award. And it's just a little game that she plays to make herself be on the lookout for the positive. Now, if you've got kids, this is a great thing to start them with early on. Second thing, and that is, this was shocking to me when I learned this. It takes 20 seconds for our brains to register the positive so that they actually become ingrained in the brain. It doesn't take anywhere near that long to remember the negatives. So what you need to do is actually focus on that positive thing for at least 20 seconds. This is why, by the way, they found that people who write a gratitude list at the end of every day, if you write down 5 things that you're grateful for at the end of the day, within 30 days you will raise what's called your happiness set point, which we can talk about in just a minute. And so it's because it's forcing you to focus on that for at least 20 seconds. So if something good happens, rather than deflecting it, notice it and sit with it for 20 seconds, allowing it to seep in. Just really imagine it coming into your cells. Imagine it coming into your brain. Imagine it coming into your heart. The third thing is you want to aim for a 3-to-1 ratio of positives to negatives. There's a great relationships researcher named Dr. John Gottman, and he has studied relationships for 30 years. And he can look at a videotape of a couple, and within 5 minutes he can tell whether that couple is going to stay together or not with a 98% accuracy. And the way he does that is he simply counts up the number of positive interactions they have compared to the number of negative interactions. And what he's found is that a couple needs at least a 3-to-1 and ideally a 5-to-1 ratio of positives to negatives. Well, we have a relationship with ourselves that's going on all the time. So what you want to do is look for a 3-to-1 ratio of positives to negatives in your own life as well.
And that ties into what I find very fascinating is how often we don't say thank you to people, or how often we appreciate people. And the whole tie-in with gratitude, what you were saying, that gratitude list. I think that's such a great thing, is to do that gratitude list every day before you go to bed. And I really do think that when we do that, and I think we start saying thank you more to people. We start to appreciate people more. So I think that is a great, great tip for everyone.
And you know what you bring up, I love that you bring up the idea of appreciation of others, because it's actually been found that when we appreciate other people, they feel better, but so do we. So it's actually a good thing for us. And you know, a wonderful little practice you can do is called the appreciation game. My ex-husband and I, who are very dear friends still, it was a very, very wonderful, we just changed the form of our relationship. But when we were together every night, what we would do is we would do an appreciation game and say 3 things that we appreciated about each other. So I would start and say, something I appreciate about you, Carly, is how engaging you are. And you might say something that you appreciate about me is, how flexible I am in rescheduling or something. And I might say something like, I really appreciate how dedicated you are to helping share information with all the people who watch these. So we go back and forth like that 3 times. And a really great time to do is right before you go to sleep. Because whatever you do right before you go to sleep is programming yourself for the quality of sleep that you get. And here's an amazing statistic. The quality of the sleep that you get has a greater impact on your happiness today than your money or your marital status, your financial status or your marital status. The quality of your sleep is more important than either your financial or your marital status.
And you brought up another important key point, because before we go to sleep, what we're not realizing is we're programming the unconscious. Totally. And that's what it's like, again, the gratitude list that you're writing, again, when we're writing, we're engaging, like literally all the muscles we're engaging in our body while we're writing the gratitude list. And then, as you say, if you engage in the exercise of engaging back and forth with somebody before you go to sleep, again, we're programming our unconscious.
Totally.
And so that is such I'm so glad you brought that up. We don't realize how important it is to do these things before we go to sleep. So thank you so much for bringing that up, because it's so important.
It really is. It's the key time. The 2 key times of the day are right before you go to sleep and right when you wake up in the morning, because that's when you're programming the quality of your sleep and the quality of your day. So, to start your day on something positive as well really, really helps.
I'd also love to talk about, you were mentioning you have a wonderful program coming up. It's the 2014 Your Year of Miracles. And I'm all about miracles. I love miracles. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So what I realize is I very often in the last years have been thinking what a miraculous life I have. I mean, just amazing things happen out of nowhere, phenomenal fulfillment, really in every area of my life. And I decided that about a year ago, I decided that I wanted to help other people have miracles in their life. So I put out this was about actually 7 months ago, I put out an email to my list, people in my happiness community, saying that I would mentor 8 women on creating miracles in their life. And I got over 1,100 applications. It was phenomenal. And so I ended up, through this selection process, I have ended up with 8 women that I accepted into the program, and they are having miracle after miracle after miracle in their life. By applying these principles that I'm teaching and walking them through, there are simple ways that people can create miracles in their life. And so I decided that I didn't want to just have it be for these 8 women. So in 2014, in January, I'm starting a new program we'll have 500 women, a big mentoring program where I will take every person is going to take their top 3 miracles that they want to create in 2014, and we're going to walk through step by step how you're going to create these miracles. And it's so cool. We're using the power of group intention. We're using Lynn McTaggart. I don't know if you have heard of Lynn McTaggart. She's written the book The Bond and The Field and the Intention Experiment, and she's got new research on how people together can create greater power in their intentions as a group, and we're going to be using all the most cutting-edge technologies for people to create miracles in whatever area they want. So a miracle in relationships. We had one woman in my program right now was separated from her husband, and she is back in relationship with him now and having a relationship that is beyond what she could have imagined. We're having miracles with people losing weight. That it's dropping off in ways that is amazing to them. Miracles in people's careers. One woman has doubled she had an hourly rate, she's a professional, she had an hourly rate, she's doubled her hourly rate to $250 an hour, and is full with work. So I mean, it's just kind of phenomenal, and this is what I believe is meant for everybody. Everybody is here. We are on the planet to be living in a state of grace and flow and miracles, to be living from our soul. You know, most people, I'll give you, you know, one of the tips about living a miraculous life is that most people are living from what I call ego intentions rather than soul intentions. And our ego intentions are things that we want because we think they're going to serve our ego. But our soul intentions are the deeper core reasons why we want something. And I'll give you a simple example. I'll just take the one of losing weight. You know, you can say, I want to lose 30 pounds. And if you say that as an ego intention, which is what most people are trying to do, is I want to lose 30 pounds because I want to look a certain way, because I want to feel better, I want people to like me, I want this, that. If you shift that around to the deeper soul intention, which is, I want to live my life in congruence with my soul, which is to be fit and healthy and to weigh a certain amount, because that feels like an expression of my soul. That changes the whole flavor, and we can start to actually create from our soul intention very differently than we create from our ego intention. And this relates to money, and so one of the things that we'll do is we'll look at how to create soul intentions and then how to make those manifest much more easily.
And again, you bring up some very valid points, because I think a lot of people do. They live in their ego, they live in their head, versus from their soul and their heart, which are completely two different things.
Totally.
And I also want to bring up, you mentioned about intention. We do not realize the actual group, the collaboration energy is very, very powerful. Now, a lot of people don't like to connotate energy or prayer or group energy. However, there's so many studies on group prayer or group intention, whatever you want to call it. I don't care what label or name you put on it. However, there is numerous studies on that the intention or group energy is extremely powerful. And when you do get a group of people together that are intending and helping each other out, it is extremely powerful. And you are helping each other, and it is much more impactful.
Huge. I mean, what it does is it just so exponentially charges whatever it is that you're doing that things happen with so much more flow because you've got that supercharged energy behind it. But it's about being done in specific ways because you know, there are certain technologies like Lynn McTaggart is finding, and we'll be using her as one of our resources, coaching us on how to do these intention experiments, that there are specific ways to do it that really supercharge things. You know, and there are other tools. I mean, can I share another sort of fast track to the information? Great. You know, people are always asking me, what's the fast track to creating happiness or a miraculous life? And one of them for me is forgiveness. You know, forgiveness is such a powerful experience and component to change, to creating miracles. And if people are stuck in any area of their life, relationship, career, health, whatever, the first place I have them start is to look at forgiveness, because forgiveness, lack of it, is blocking our flow of energy. It's blocking putting us in the flow. And there are many techniques out there for forgiveness. The one that I like the most is Ho'oponopono, which I imagine you've heard of. It's very simply the technique where you internally in your heart think about the other person or situation that you need to forgive, and you just say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you feel those in your heart. You don't even say them out loud to the person. You feel them in your heart. And do we have time for me to share a quick story about how I've used this in my life?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So about 5 years ago, my sister and I got in an argument, and we weren't talking to each other anymore. And that was very intense for us. That had never happened in our family. But we're both kind of stubborn people, and she got mad at me for something. I got mad back, and we just dug in our heels, and we weren't talking. Well, about 4 months into this silence treatment, our whole family gathered at my mother. We just moved our mother out of our family home she had lived in for 58 years, and we moved her into an assisted living apartment. So the morning of the move, we all gathered at her apartment to unpack her things. Well, I was so nervous because I hadn't talked to my sister, and I didn't know what that would be like. So I came in last, and I hugged and kissed everybody hello except my sister. I ignored her. She was over in the kitchen unpacking some things in the kitchen, and I just ignored her. Well, we went through the entire morning ignoring each other, and you could feel the tension in the room. You could cut it with a knife, you know? And I was so kind of burned out from this that I decided to leave and take a break and just go to my car to meditate. Well, on the way to the car, I remembered Ho'oponopono. So I went to my car and I sat there for maybe, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes it was, probably somewhere in there. And I just sent her those wishes. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I also sent those to myself because I'd been mad at myself too. And after about 7 or 8 minutes, something completely shifted in me. I felt this wave of love come over me, and my heart just opened up to my sister, and I realized she wasn't mad at me for what had happened a few months earlier. It was a lifetime of stuff, and I suddenly saw it from her perspective for the first time perhaps ever. And I just felt all this compassion and love for my sister. So I went back into the apartment, and I didn't say anything to anybody. I just went back in and started to unpack. And Carly, it was no more than 3 minutes later that my sister came over to me out of the blue and took me by the hand and said, come on, let's go unpack Mom's closet together. And, you know, I was kind of like, oh, that's weird. So we went into my mom's closet and we're unpacking her things as though nothing had happened. An hour later, we're at lunch. She hands me a baked potato. She says, here, I know you like these more than I do. Have mine. I was so blown away that I pulled my brother aside and I said, okay, what did you tell her while I was gone? Because I don't know what just happened. And he said, Marci, nobody said anything to her. We have no idea what's happened. That was the beginning of an entirely different relationship than I now have with my sister, which is a fabulous relationship. I mean, we go, it's really so sweet. She comes and helps me in my house. We go on sister trips together, and it's really different. And I'll tell you, this particular shift happened at such an important time because 9 months later, my sister and I found ourselves standing in that same closet of our mother's, but this time we were packing up Mom's things because Mom had just passed away very suddenly and unexpectedly. And I can't imagine what that would have been like with my sister had we not had that healing. And the reason I share this story is that I know that everyone who's listening has something in their life that they haven't forgiven. And if you try, use your own life as an experiment. Just try it out. Do this for a few days, 3, 4, 5 days, and see what happens. And I'm going to bet that you'll see some miracles showing up in your life.
Oh, I love that practice. I lived in Hawaii for almost 4 years, and I'm actually going back in like another year. And it is such a beautiful practice, and it really is marvelous, and it does work. And I implore anybody who is having issues with somebody that there is that stalemate, if you will, to actually explore with it, because it is a beautiful thing. It's simple. It's not hard to do. It's something you can do silently. You can even do it out loud, and it's a beautiful thing to do. So actually,
and
it's beautiful.
you can do it towards yourself, because we all have so much judgment. Yeah, you know, I mean, most people that I come across really need some self-forgiveness and some self-love.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. I also want to touch upon, because I would be remiss if I did not bring up your 2 lovely books. I encourage anyone to go out there and explore her Happy for No Reason book. It's absolutely beautiful. And, of course, your Love for No Reason. I'd actually love for you just to touch upon what was the inspiration behind Love for No Reason?
So I became happier after writing Happy for No Reason. It really worked. You know, I interviewed all these people to find out what caused them to be happier. I interviewed the scientists and the psychologists to find out what it was, and I tried everything out that people suggested, and it really, really worked. So after Happy for No Reason came out, I thought, okay, well, what's next? You know, I'm happy. I have what I wanted, and I thought, you know, the only other thing in the world that I want more than happiness is love. You know, I think love is the ultimate. It's the highest energy on the planet. And so I decided that I would write a book called Love for No Reason, which is not about relationships. It's about how you can raise what's called your love set point and live in a state of unconditional love. Live, you know how how you feel when you're watching a beautiful sunset, or when you're falling in love, or when you're holding a baby, and there's just that yumminess of unconditional love. I wanted to know, could we live in that state of unconditional love? And I found out that, in fact, we can, that it is a physiological state. It's not just some airy-fairy idea out there. It's a real physiological state. And there are specific practices that we can do to raise our love set point. Your love set point is like your glass ceiling or your upper limits on your ability to give and receive love. It's like we have a thermostat setting, and you have to do something consciously to raise your love thermostat in order for you to be able to open to receive greater love. And that's what Love for No Reason is about. It's got a lot of really practical tools, and you know, Carly, I like results. So, you know, I'm not so into the theory. The theory's great, but I really want, what do I do today, tomorrow, and the next day that will work the fastest? And so that's what's in both Happy for No Reason and Love for No Reason. And, you know, the reason I decided to come up with this Year of Miracles program, this 2014 Year of Miracles, is that what we all want is to live our lives with happiness, with love, and in the flow of our life. And to me, that's miracles. You know, it's about putting us in the flow of feeling like this is miraculous life. What I've got, what's happening in my life is, I feel so blessed and grateful. It's miraculous. And so that's why I'm so excited about helping people make, you know, 2014 a year that is their really turnaround year, their stellar year, their year that they go, oh my God, that's when miracles started happening left and right. So
I'd love for you to share where people can find you. This is also a podcast, not just a video. So can you please tell everyone where they can find you since they're also listening? So where can people find you and get your books, and where they can take your courses? And
great. So for the Year of Miracles program, you can just go to youryearofmiracles.com, youryearofmiracles.com, and it has all the information there on that. We also have a free call, that online seminar that you can listen to, that's called The 3 Secrets to Living a Miraculous Life. It's about a 75-minute call where I share the 3 secrets. Deborah Poneman, who I'm doing this program with, who was my very first mentor when I was 22 years old, she's a great, amazing success expert, and she has created miracles in her life. We're teaming up and doing this together. So we did this 75-minute free call online seminar on the 3 secrets of living a miraculous life. And you can go to youryearofmiracles.com and you can listen to the call there. If you are interested in Happy for No Reason and Love for No Reason, you can just go to happyfornoreason.com, and it's got all the information there. And I welcome you to join this happiness community, because together we really are so much more powerful than we are individually. You don't have to do it alone.
I just really want to thank you so much for joining me and taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know you have a busy schedule. And thank you so much for just, you know, sharing the tips and tools. Is there anything you'd love to leave the audience with?
There is. Yeah, I'm often asked if this is selfish. You know, wanting to feel happier, wanting to feel unconditional love, wanting to have miracles. You know, what about the world? And my answer to that is that this is the least selfish thing you could possibly do. Because when you feel happy, when you feel filled with love, you help create a better world. So I will leave you with this Chinese proverb that sums that up very beautifully, and it goes like this. It says, when there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there is harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. And my prayer and my wish for every single one of us is that we feel that light in our souls, that love in our hearts. And through that, we help create more peace here on this planet of ours.
And that is beautiful. Thank you so much for that. That is a beautiful ending. And as usual, everybody knows I put together a beautiful page which will have all of your information and your links, so they'll be able to find everything very easily. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. I wish everybody many blessings and a beautiful night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.